How is the city protected to get the reimbursement?
I mean, how are you ever protected when you have a contract? I mean, it's a contract, so that's what protects you.
Does our attorney care to weigh in on either of those options?
It's up to the council as to which option they would like to do that. That is a point that being able to get a judgment is different from collecting a judgment. And so that's always a heartache, is being able to collect on something. But that's up to the council as to which avenue the council would like to take on repayment of those classes.
I feel that we discussed this in depth quite a bit the other day at this meeting, but all candidates for the building inspector job had all the credentials. They had paid for them and they maintained them on their own dime. We're making this very easy.
Well, we don't know that they paid those candidates before.
They brought them with them, so we did not pay for them, period. They brought them with them.
Sure.
So
Right.
I believe that we're doing a great service to Lee to afford him the opportunity to become a building inspector. And during kind of an apprenticeship program is what we're doing, and he's going to have to pay for his schooling. At the end of 5 years, if he's still here, we agreed last meeting that we would reimburse him. So that's my feeling, and I think this is perfectly well written.
I don't see anything in here where it says we'll reimburse all those fees that we took from his paycheck. I mean, I still think that's wrong, but whatever. It doesn't say that anywhere in here.
So right now, if you look at paragraph, or page 1, paragraph 2, position title, that's all outlined in the underlined language. And so if you just review the underlined language, that's the current intent of the contract, which of course can be changed, but the underlying language is the payback language.
Right. Shane, I just don't see where if they stay for 5 years, the city is going to reimburse him for all those costs that he incurred, like give him back all the money that we've been keeping out of his paycheck.
That is not contemplated in the contract.
Okay.
So the contract basically indicates that Lee will pay for those through monthly payments, and then once it's paid off, it's paid off. But not that if he stays for 5 years, he'll be reimbursed for those.
Okay.
But that could be, if that's the council's desire, that of course could be added.
I stand corrected on the payback on that. I'll still stand firm on the employee getting his own license.
What I would suggest is, I do agree with Ed that our other candidates were going to come with their certificates. I do agree with that it's something that we are giving him an opportunity, like you said, apprenticeship is a good way, I guess, to express it. The one thing is, once he gets it, just like Brad paid for all his certificates, but for his CEUs that he has to get after the certificates each year, I think they have to get so many CEUs. We do pay for those. Those aren't asked of him to pay. We do put the money out for those.
Right.
It's just not his certificates that we've ever had to pay for.
Okay. I also understand that those other people came with certificates, but we were also going to be paying them considerably more.
Well, that's why it was experience.
Sure, yeah,
Based on
exactly.
experience, they had more experience because of that.
Exactly. I mean, there is a difference there.
Yes.
I look at this as over a period of 5 years, payroll reduction plan. The HR person and the candidate, Lee, could come up with something that's reasonable. We're not going to put him in a poorhouse. Reimbursement. Every time he gets a certificate, he's going to get a 5% pay increase. This is over a period of 5 years. It might be $50 a month. It might be 20 cents. I don't think it's such a big deal. You know, we got to get our money back, and at the end of the 5 years, write that into this thing here, like the attorney said. The reimbursement completely.
Okay, I'm not going to hang it up. I just wanted to make my feelings known. I know that we need to get Lee hired and get this signed. I don't agree with that, but you know, whatever everybody else thinks.
Do we have a motion on this item?
I move to approve. I'll second the motion.
motion to approve the employment contract as presented. We have a second on the table as well. Any further discussion?
Is the candidate in the office or the building here?
He's right there.
Okay, I mean, we're making it up, so you can accept it. Wouldn't be bad.
Do you have any feelings on this, Lee?
Ricky said he'd sign anything, remember?
That is in the public record.
I did say that, yes. I did receive an email of the contract and I read it over and I'll sign it right now, yeah.
So we have a motion and a second, then any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Carried and so ordered. Motion passes unanimous. We'll move on to item 3, Councilman Allworth, discussion for possible action, approval of monthly balance sheets for general fund, street fund, and enterprise funds.
I think Patty's handing out the sheet.
Thank you so much.
Please give me the 3 seconds, I leave it with Mr. Mayor.
There's an updated.
Quick review, my opinion shows that the balance sheet balances for the month of January for the general fund, road fund, and the 3 enterprise funds. I'll make a motion to approve the balance sheet as presented.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second. Any questions or discussion on this item? All in favor of the approval?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes unanimous. Item 4, council members, city treasurer, HR director Trask, discussion for possible action, approval to hire full-time or part-time utility accounts clerk to process accounts payable, payroll, and other assigned duties as needed. You want to give a little rejoinder on this?
Well, yeah, I think we're just getting to a point and that we could use one more person. Even if it was part-time, I think it could eventually go full-time. I'm, as the treasurer, really, it's not my position to do the accounts payable and the payroll. It's under the utility / accounts clerk's positions. And taking on the HR has, on top of being the treasurer's, been a little much. Plus Jennifer, we could utilize this person, I think, to help possibly eventually do the grants administrating. Not a grant writer per se, unless they become really good and we can get them to do that, but I just think that would take some pressure off of myself and Jennifer at this point, if we could look at that. I will recommend that if it's part-time that we at least make a PERS eligible, which is 20 hours a week, keeping in mind that they have to work 30 hours a week to be eligible for health benefits.
But you would prefer a full-time person? That would best
I
serve the
think,
office?
yeah, because I'm going to have to get them trained. I will say that I definitely will be looking for somebody that's got experience in payroll, because I just don't have the time to train them from the ground up on that. So it'll take some time to get that training. There will be costs besides wages and benefits, because I will have to get them make sure there's a computer. We'll have to buy a license from Cassell for one more person to be on. So there's a little additional cost to that.
So we can budget that in for the next year, but you're comfortable with it this year?
I think so, because I've been looking at it, and granted, we definitely are coming in better than what I budgeted, of course. So I've got monies to appropriate or augment as necessary in the general fund. And they would be a 4-way split between the general fund and the enterprise funds for their wages and benefits and any expense incurred from them.
For doing just payroll, how many hours a week do you figure they'll be doing if that's all they're doing?
Well, I wouldn't have anybody just payroll, because payroll's run every 2 weeks.
Sure.
So you've got that accounts payable, it's at least 3 times a month to do. That's why I would like some other projects thrown in there as they get comfortable with the AP and the payroll to start doing some research for us.
So, and under, let's see, what have you listed here? And other assigned duties as needed, possibly.
Well, and that, they can also be used as a backup. I would like them to also learn the cash receipting and the other duties downstairs that are associated with the utility accounts clerks. So they'd also be a backup for them, for the phones, and then as others, you know, if there's other things that happen.
Okay. What's the pleasure of the council on this item?
I would make a motion to approve for Treasurer Trask to hire a full-time person as needed.
Do I have a second on that motion?
I'll second that motion.
Further discussion on this item? Is there anything
Yeah.
else we need to clarify on that? Go ahead.
Yeah, I have an issue with needing to hire another person. I think that every one of our departments in the city really are running really lean and mean. You know, I have a problem with hiring another person. I don't know what the difference is. How come now it's important to have another employee in the office where every one of our departments are strung out? And just recently, we were the only entity in White Pine County to cut all of our staff by 12.5% during the first phase of this COVID-19 mess. And I just think that it's in poor taste to start hiring more people to run the office when we're really lean out there on the outside. So I will be a no vote on this for sure.
Further discussion?
I'd like to put my 2 cents on there. I agree with, I'm not agreeing with what Ed says. I understand what he's saying, but the information that comes out of City Hall has got to be correct. It's got to be, it's important. You got 2 key people, the treasurer / HR and the clerk that are busy. Just the other day, COVID took 2 people out. We almost had to shut City Hall down. We had no backup. The 2 ladies are not trained for cash receipting. They received it, locked it all up the next day. The women come in to pick up the slack. We have to cross-train, but we need to have, for example, the treasurer watching the finances. We finally, after probably 6 years, got the finances in the right direction. If you don't have a person watching what's going on, you're just going to fail. The city clerk is doing multiple tasks. A lot of it is she's handing off down to Patty, and I think the other assigned duties, we can pick that person up there, but there's a need for cross-training. One person gets sick and another one takes vacation, we're shorthanded in City Hall. Thank you.
Mayor Robertson, may I say
Yes.
something? Just like tonight, clerk duties most of the day, but I've got a few more reports to close out our extrication CDBG grant. And so after this meeting, I'll run home and have dinner, and then I'll be back here. So I just want that on the record, that I'm doing that kind of work weekly.
Yeah, I don't think we should expect that of any of our employees. Thank you. I mean, you guys put in so much work, and you hold 2 titles, and to expect the office to run on fumes is unreasonable. So I think that's.
Since we are doing since the motion and the second is to do a full-time person, will it be the understanding that since they are full-time, that they will be helping with some of that grant?
Oh, yes, we'll put that. What I'll do is when I put it out to advertise, because all our job descriptions say and other assigned duties, so you can only put so much in a job descriptions, but it will be something that we're looking for in a candidate, so it can be clear.
Okay. Any further discussion? We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes 4-1 with a dissenting vote from Councilman Spear. It's 5:30, so we can move back to item 6. The mayor will recess the regular city council meeting for a public hearing at 5:30 p.m. on the following topics. Item 1, council members, city engineer Almberg, public hearing, discussion only. Approval of certification of roads for fuel tax.